So I'm going to cook this amazing green soup recipe. It's called super green soup because, trust me, it is super green. It is so good for you. It also freezes really well, so you can make a big batch of it and just pop it into freezer bags or boxes, pop it in the freezer and have it for whenever you need it. Now I'm going to start by chopping some onion. Doesn't really matter how finely or not you chop it because everything's going to get whizzed up at the end in a blender. So I'm just rough chopping it just to get it ready for frying off. I've got some here that I've chopped earlier, and I'm going to use olive oil, my favourite oil of choice always for sauteing and cooking, doing anything with. You don't need to use extra virgin olive oil, just regular olive oil. It's cheaper and it's just as good for when you come to cooking. So I've got my chopped onion. This was one large white onion. Okay, and then you're going to soften that in the olive oil. Just stir that around, make sure that the onion is all coated in the oil. So that softens nicely. I'm not using any garlic for this recipe. You could if you wanted, but actually I think the onions give loads of really great flavour. So while that is softening, I'm then going to chop the next thing, which is going to be leeks. So lots of prebiotic fibre in there. We know that these onions and leeks are just such a good source of prebiotics, and our gut bugs really love them. So I've got one really lovely large wintry leek. I've already chopped quite a lot of it. So I'll just do the last section. And again, you know, it's kind of rough chopping because it's all going to get blended together. So it's all going to get whizzed up. This is a very nice, well-washed leek, obviously. And you want the green bits and all, everything. It's also a pretty economical soup because you're just using lots of nice winter veggies. In fact, the recipe, if you've got your yearbook 2, you'll find it in the winter section because I'm using cabbage and leeks and all those lovely seasonal veg that we've got around at the moment. So hopefully those onions have softened down. Yeah, they've already gone nice and soft. They're beginning to turn translucent in the pan here. So I'll add in the leeks and let that soften. Now you can make this if you want as a completely veggie soup, or you can use a chicken stock. I've got a really nice organic chicken stock that I'm using. Make my own stock if we have roast chicken at the weekend. I'll try and get 2 or 3 meals out of it, boil up the bones with some herbs. Just cook that down. Just give it a stir every now and then to make sure it doesn't catch in the pan. But that should start to soften. Shouldn't actually need any more moisture at this stage because the leeks will start to release the moisture. You just want to make sure it doesn't burn as it cooks through. So now the third really wonderful green ingredient, I told you it was a green soup, is cabbage. So I've got here my lovely winter cabbage. You can use any kind, Savoy cabbage, whatever. So this is a really good one here. This was a slightly paler one that I had. And what you're going to use here is, it's about 450 grams, so it's about the same as the leeks. And you're just going to tear it up really. So I've got here, this is a cabbage that has been washed. So just take off the outer leaves and maybe just trim off the hard stalk. And then, you can chop it or you can tear it, whatever. I probably need to do about another half or so of cabbage. And you don't have to be really precise. Nothing's going to go seriously wrong if you are out by a few grams from the recipe. So I just shrub these lovely dark leaves. Now remember that when you're cooking with green veg, the darker the veg, generally the more nutritious, because the nutrients are very often what gives the veg its colour. That's why they always say eat the rainbow. Try and go for as colourful a dish as you can. So I'm going to use as much of the dark green cabbage as is possible in here. Okay, so I'm going to take that over to the pan, and this is when you can start to add in the stock. So that's beginning to cook down really nicely. Obviously I'm doing this slightly more quickly than I would in real time because it's just boring watching leeks and cabbage cook. So I'll add probably half that cabbage, start cooking that in like that, and then I can add in the stock. So while that is on the stove, I'm going to get, I've got a litre of really nice quality stock. So this is, as I said, it's an organic chicken stock. And you want something that's got quite a good flavour. You know, if you're making stock, the other thing that I use as a base for soups a lot is if I'm cooking veg at all, don't throw away the vegetable water. Keep it if you can in the fridge because that makes a really good basis for your own vegetable stock. You can throw in some salt, pepper, herbs, spices, whatever you like to flavour it. But it means that you don't need to keep going out and buying stock or buying stock cubes because you've always got a little supply going in the fridge. So I'll add some more of that cabbage so that can cook down. It can all go in there. You need quite a large saucepan for this, and then the rest of the stock. And then you just let that simmer away. That's going to take about 10 minutes or so to really simmer down, and that will probably reduce about half its size. Just want to get that bubbling away. You can pop a lid on it if you want. And then once that's done, because the main thing that you want to do is you want to cook the onions, cook the cabbage and cook the leeks. Then, yet more green, we're going to add some spinach. Got a whole load of baby spinach here. Again, it's optional. If you don't have it, you don't have to add it. But you could also use cavallonero, you could use chard, any of those other green veggies. This doesn't take very long at all to cook. You know, if you're familiar with cooking spinach, you know that it wilts down really quickly. So what I would do with this is once I've cooked my cabbage and the leeks and the onions, is I'll just add handfuls of this to the pan and let that cook down. Okay, it doesn't take very long, just a couple of minutes. And then once that's all cooked, you take your cooked veggies that are in the pot, that lovely pot of green, and you can either pop it into a blender or you can use a hand blender so that you do it all in the same pot, less washing up, really easy. And once you've blended that all together, look at that. This is what you get. Honestly, it's so tasty. All the flavours of that green goodness come together. And I think it's the combination of the onions, the leeks, the spinach, the cabbage. Really, really good. And you can flavour that as well if you want with herbs. You know, you could chuck in yet more green herbs. You could put some parsley in if you like coriander. I'm not a fan of coriander, but if you like coriander, you can put it in. And then last but not least, the secret ingredient. This is optional, you don't have to do it, but I like to add a little bit of spirulina powder. Spirulina, full of goodness. It's really strong, so you don't need much. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to taste the soup first, because this is the stage when you'd adjust the seasoning. You could add a little bit more salt and pepper if you wanted. And I think that's really good. I don't think it needs any more. I had quite a lot of salt in my stock, so I don't need to add any more to that. But I am going to sprinkle in about a heaped teaspoon of spirulina, and you could use any powdered greens if you prefer chlorella, for example. These just superfood powders are so good, and it's such an easy way to improve the mineral content and the vitamin content of dishes. You know, I often add in a teaspoon into spag bowl, any other sauces, soups, that kind of thing. And just retaste that. Make sure, get a clean spoon, make sure that's not too much or too little. No, I'd say that is just right. So then you take your ladle and serve it up, ready for serving at the table. This is also works really well with a little swirl of something like crème fraîche or kefir or a little bit of plain live yogurt. You could pop in a few croutons, you could just put a little bit of flat leaf parsley on the top here. Honestly, so good, so nutritious. It doesn't get any better than that, does it really? And you'll find that recipe in the link below, or it's in the Earle Wellbeing yearbook too. Hope you enjoy it.